at every alumni event that we have a speaker that kind of shares his story, carries the message of recovery, kind of talks about how it was when he touches on how it was when he was out there and how MFI has actually got him back on track, and now how life is now clean and sober. So this is the medicine that we take for our disease. This is the tools that we put in our tool belt, and so Ken has graciously agreed to share his story. So let's give it up for Ken.
All right, Ken.
Hey everybody, my name is Ken, and I'm definitely an addict.
Hi Ken.
Hi, Ken.
So I'm getting to the point where I don't like talking about my background as much anymore, but let me give you an idea what it was like. I come up from a family of 13 brothers and sisters with alcoholic parents, living in one of the worst ghetto cities in New Jersey, filled with violence and hatred. We grew up in the 60s, back when the racial violence was very, very bad, and my family and I lived in a predominantly black housing project in Patterson, New Jersey. And so the main thing was that my father was a terrible, terrible, mean, drunk, and as far as I'm concerned, a very sick man. He beat everybody in our family on a regular basis. I don't remember too many times in my younger years that my mother didn't have a black eye. By the time I was 8 years old, I didn't even know what the word hate meant, but I knew what I felt inside. And I despised this person so much that I poisoned him when I was 8 years old. And he started foaming at the mouth, and my mother had to call the ambulance, and the police came. And they took him to the hospital, and then they came back to the apartment, and they were going to arrest my mother. And they said, Mrs. Williams, I'm sorry, but we have to take the children, and we have to arrest you. Your husband was poisoned, and it has to be you. And I started screaming at the cop, no, I did it. I did it. And he said, look, kid, sit down. We'll take care of this. And they had handcuffs, putting them on my mother, and I'm screaming at him. And I said, come on, I'll show you. And I took him outside where I buried the bottle of poison weed killer stuff that I put in his wine. And so they took me away. And they took me to a place in New Jersey called Menlo Park. It was an adolescent care facility for mentally ill children. And they thought I was mentally ill, so they took me there, and they kept me there for 3 months. And they put me on medications, and I have been on medications ever since that day. I'm still on medication. But so they were going to bring me back home after these 90 days, and I told them, I said, listen, if you get me back to my house, he's going to kill me. Well, back in our day, we didn't have CPS or, none of that. If you were a kid and got your ass whooped and you got hurt, or whatever the case might be, you deserved it. That's the way it was. The cops said, well, do what you got to do. But these cops went back to my house and talked to my father and pretty much told him that if you hurt this kid again, we're going to come back and hurt you. So he left me alone. So from 8 until 13 years old, me and my brothers started running around out in the streets, running away from home. We didn't want to be there. We were tired of getting hurt and getting hit. So we figured if we ran away from home, we'd be gone for a while, have some fun. We'd go back home, get hurt, beat up again. And it was just a way of life. It was the way it was. I lived in a huge housing project. There was 13 buildings that were 17 stories high, and there was a lot of people. And we used to see people dead in the hallways and on the staircases with needles in their arms and everything. And I had watched my brother shooting heroin since I was 6 years old. And one day I decided I wanted to see what it was like, what he was doing, because I would see this look come over his face, and I didn't really understand what was going on, but I knew that it looked peaceful, So I stole his stash, and I did everything didn't know that you needed to put the needle in a vein at the time, because I wouldn't be here talking to you right now, which would have been probably good, you know, the way my life wound up. But I don't feel that way now. But from that day forward, my brother came home to get his stash, and he was angry that somebody took his stash. He went looking around and he found the IOD. Regardless of whether I put it in a vein or not, heroin we used to speak about when we were kids, you know, and then that changed, put me in the vein very shortly after. So at the age of 9, I started doing heroin, and I'm 65 years old now, and I have 100-something days clean from it.
All right.
So to just get right through my life, I became a violent, very violent person. I would do anything that it took to get heroin. I've shot people, and I've been shot by people. I was stabbed and paralyzed. Stabbed me in my spine. I was paralyzed for 15 months. They said I would never walk again. My higher power had a different plan. I got locked up when I was 13 years old, and the judge said you will not get out until you become an adult. The age of an adult in New Jersey at the time was 21 years old. So they locked me up when I was 13. I got out when I was 21. And so I lost all my teenage years, all my childhood. I had to grow up really fast. Our institutions in New Jersey were 85% black, 15% white and Spanish. All right. So in every institution, there was the racial violence. You know, even to this day, it's still politics. You know, racial segregation. So we went through that in a different manner. In them days, it was the main violence was because they killed Martin Luther King. I was 13 years old when they killed Martin Luther King. I was sent to a reformatory in New Jersey, and the rule was that I had to fight every day for the next 365 days, and I did, and I won 2 fights. I weighed 83 pounds, you know. So, but I had to grow up fast, and with that fighting came proving my heart, proving that I would never tell on anybody, you know. So I lived my life going to prison. I'd stay out for a little while. I would be so dragged out on heroin and alcohol at that time, and cocaine. The sad part is that I had an opportunity that most people never have. I went to the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. I became a chef in New York in one of the most famous restaurants, Tavern on the Green. I worked there for 3 years, and I was hungry for power. You know, I was a ghetto kid that had nothing. You know, 13 brothers and sisters. We had to fight our way out of that project just like everybody else had to. You know, because we were poor white trash. You know, and the real white people in the nice sections didn't want us there. You know, because we lived in the projects. You know, so my institutional mentality became fixed in my life. I thought that I was everything that my father ever told me I was, a loser, a piece of crap that would never be nothing, until I graduated that culinary school and I became a chef, a certified chef. My first contract with the union in New York was $48,500, and that was in 1977. When I got that contract, I took a picture of it and I sent it to my father, and I said, I am better than you. That's all I ever wanted, was to be better than him. You know, I have 7 sisters. My sisters taught me how to treat women, not him. You know, if I would have went his direction, I'd have been beating up women all my life. I've never put my hands on a woman. I had my second wife slap me a couple times. And I really wanted to deck her, but I just, there was something in my brain that just couldn't do it. Okay, so at 15 years old, I entered my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and they told me about addiction. And you know what? It was no problem for me to understand that eventually I'm going to die from drugs. Because in the institutions I was doing heroin. I wasn't going to quit. Didn't have any desire to quit. They kept sending me to these meetings. We liked it because we got donuts and coffee. You know, bunch of kids not knowing what the hell we're doing. You know, except learning bad shit from each other. You know, how to steal cars, how to pick locks. You know, that was our education. You know, there's always been something good in my heart for other people. You know, I tried to bury it, I tried to deny it, I tried to ignore it. But if I hurt somebody, I felt bad. You know, and in the prisons, you had to do certain things to survive. You know, if you're told to do something, you don't do it, it'll happen to you. You know. And I remember many times when I did things to other people that I didn't want to do, I would feel bad. But it didn't stop me from wanting to survive. You know. So, Narcotics Anonymous got in my brain back there when I was 15 years old. And throughout my 20s and 30s, it stayed there. Even though I kept using, and I kept going to prison, and I kept using in prison, and out of prison. You know, I used to say, I can't get clean, I'll never get clean, there's no way I'll ever stay clean, ain't no sense in trying. You know, you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of garbage, nobody wants you. My whole family disowned me, they threw me out of their lives, they said, you know what, don't even come back, we're done. My oldest brother Vince told me one day that if I ever see you in person again, I'll beat you to death. I held him, my wife, his wife, children, 2 cops hostage for 17 hours with a pump shotgun. I jeopardized his family. Family is everything to him. Today he's one of my best friends. Why is that? So let's get to the recovery part. So with a head full of knowledge and a heart that is dead as a doornail, you know, I was never going to go anywhere on my own. You know, and I started getting a desire to want to stop that life. I didn't want to stop doing heroin. I loved heroin. I just didn't like the consequences anymore. I didn't like the pain and suffering that I seen in other people's eyes. My niece, my sister-in-law, 2 most important people in my world. I got 2 grown men's sons that don't want nothing to do with me. I abandoned them when they were 3.5 years old. You know, to go to prison. It was, you know, I liked prison better than staying home, being a man, and taking care of my children. But they didn't know how. I didn't know how to be a father. I didn't know how to be a brother. I didn't know how to be a son. I didn't know how to be anything. I was empty inside. I was devoid of any emotions. You know, I stopped crying when I was 9 years old. That last time he beat me at 9 years old, and I looked up at him and said, I'll never cry again. You'll never hurt me again. And he did hurt me physically again, but he never got me in here again. I want to just cut right towards the last couple of years. 3 years ago, I just got out of prison again. I had committed suicide in Tucson, Arizona. When I say I committed suicide, they said, no, you attempted suicide. Well, I think if you're dead for 18 minutes, you committed suicide. It doesn't make any difference. No matter how long I could stay dead, God wasn't going to let me go yet. For whatever reason, whatever purpose he had, he wants to keep me here, you know? I ate 15,000 milligrams of amitriptyline. Anybody that knows what Elavil or amitriptyline is, a couple of 100 milligrams will put most of you to sleep for 2 or 3 days. I took 15,000 milligrams because I knew that would take me out. They brought me back. They put me on life preserve, what do they call it? Life preserve. Yeah, that thing. They had to use machinery to keep me alive. To run my heart, to run my lungs, everything. 39 days in a coma. And they called my family out here in California. They said, we got Kenneth Williams at the Tucson Medical Center. Somebody's got to come down here and pull the plug or pay the bill. My son was there. I hadn't seen him in 20 years. My son said, nobody's pulling the plug on my father. He's coming out of that shit. 2 days later, I came out of that coma. In 2016, I did it again down in Santa Monica. Same thing, only 25,000. And them assholes, that's what I called them, brought me back again, you know. And I was mad, I was angry because, look, I couldn't get a life. I couldn't do anything to help myself. I couldn't trust anybody else that they were gonna help me because everybody wanted something, you know. So I decided I was gonna embark on this mission. I was down in San Diego, and I decided I'm gonna come back to Riverside where my family is. I'm gonna get straight, stay clean. They're gonna come back in my life. Everything's gonna be wonderful. Well, I got back to Riverside. I wound up in Moreno Valley. I went to the Regional Medical Center. I told them, if you don't do something for me right now, I'm gonna leave here and I'm gonna go and kill myself. Thanks, 5150, put me in ETS, the START program showed up. They said, you want to go into a rehab and try to get your life together? I said, I went to Cedar House. I stayed at Cedar House 66 days, couldn't take it anymore. I was in 18 rehabs in my life and I never made it through one. Okay? June of last year, not this past June of last year, I was blessed. 8 months before that, I was sitting on the Riverside and Central Labs behind the Staples on the railroad tracks, drinking 2 bits of Jim Beam, trying to get up the balls to jump on the railroad tracks when one of the trains. And I knew they couldn't put me back together again. Well, here comes a cop. Go figure. Cop pulls up, goes through my stuff. I had found this nasty old backpack in the dumpster. I threw it in the shopping cart. He goes through it, finds 4 bullets. Now trust me when I tell you, I'm not an ignorant man. Well, I do stupid things, but I'm not ignorant. I knew from when I was a kid that I could never in my life have a gun. Nobody ever told me about bullets. Okay? So when he said, what are these bullets? I'm like, I don't know, I found them in that backpack. He said, I'm gonna have to arrest you. I said, for what? He said, you're not allowed to have bullets. You're a convicted felon. Long story short, they sent me back to prison. But they gave me a little taste of California prison. 16.5, I did 8 months. I walked in that door in Wasco, I sat down on that bunk and I said, you know what, something's gotta change. Something's gotta change. Scott, you gotta help me because I can't go through this prison attitude and prison mentality anymore. I don't want to use, I'm broke. And he helped me every single day for 8 months to say no. No, I don't want to get out. Thanks, no, thank you. And I got out, but before I got out, 2 months before I got out, I was like, damn dude, you're gonna get out, you're gonna be homeless, you're gonna be back to shooting dope, and it's gonna be the same old shit. And I had a bed for 8 months. I don't wanna lay on the sidewalk. I had food 3 times a day for 8 months. I don't wanna be out there stealing food out of Stater Brothers. So what I did was, I went on Vivitrol. I went to the counselor, I talked to the social worker, the psychiatrist, everybody. I said, look, I don't want to use heroin anymore. I don't want to do anything anymore. He said, well, this Vivitrol will help you. Okay, so they put me on the Vivitrol because I didn't want to be homeless and use it. Well, somebody told me, why don't you try to get into a rehab? And I was like, how am I going to get into a rehab from here? Don't work for heroin. So they hooked me up with Anna down in MFI. And about 10 minutes, she said, we accept you. You got a bed. What date are you getting out? And I was like, I almost cried. I was like, really? I'm not going to be on the street? And then they sent me up to Woodcrest. And I met some awesome people in Woodcrest. And first I'm talking about the staff. You know, I always thought I knew more than the staff. You know? Somebody who used drugs for 56 years gotta know more than that. I found out I didn't know shit. I found out that I knew that I was hiding inside myself, putting on masks, smiling when I wanted to fight somebody, you know? And I got help there. I got help at MFI. I said things in group. There's a guy that's here with me right now that was in there with me. I said things in group that I never told anybody in my whole life. Secrets that I was holding back and hiding with shame and guilt. And I started realizing what that feeling is like to get rid of some of that guilt and that shame. I started trusting in other people for the first time in my life. I started allowing people to teach me what love was, because I grew up in prison. I didn't know what love was. I used to say I love my kids, but I'd rather stick a needle in my arm. I love my wife, but I ran her off. No, I didn't know what the hell love was. Somebody near and dear to me, my heart, my niece, been telling me for years that I had to learn how to love myself. And I thought that was a joke. I found out what that was when I got to MFI. You know, I never was clean more than 3 months, if that long. From when I was 9 years old until I was 64 years old. So I stayed clean in the prison for 8 months. I went to MFI. I graduated MFI. I was like, what? When I was leaving, they were all telling me they were sad to see me go. Most people in my life were like, man, dude, go. You know, they're telling me stay. And I'm like, what? You know, where does that come from? You know? Because I still didn't see what other people see. You know? And I went on to stay clean for 17 months. And then I found out I had cancer. You know, I was pissed. You know, this God that I've known for a long, long time, that I walked away from, told him to leave me alone, you know, even though he refused to. I thought it was a joke. I told him, really, dude? All the shit that I've been through, all the hospitals, the prisons, the pain that I caused other people because I couldn't get clean. And then you send these people into my life to help me get clean, and you let me get cancer. Of course, it's his fault. It's always got to be his fault. But it's really not his fault. It's part of life. Here's the reality of it. 3 years ago, they told me, listen, Kenneth Williams, you need to go and get a prostate biopsy. I didn't go. I'm sorry. I had to go and get a prostate biopsy. I was like, no way. When they told me what it was, it entailed, I was like, no. Ain't happening. So, way too big. Cameras and knives and everything in it, man. It's like a little kid. Ain't happening. So anyway, back in November, I finally said, okay, because now I want to stay clean, you know? And the only way I know how to stay clean is to stay with what I was taught in MFI and the program of Narcotics Anonymous. I am a Narcotics Anonymous believer, you know, more so than I have many, many friends in Narcotics Anonymous, and they told me, they said, listen, man, we want you to stay alive, man. Go through this stuff. So I waited. They told me, listen, the good news is cancer hasn't spread outside your prostate. We could surgically remove it, all will be well. Yeah, whatever. I'm on IHP and Medi-Cal, so, you know, all those are not well. It took them too long to get authorizations. People dropped the ball by not putting the authorizations in. And by the time all was said and done, and I went to the surgeon to get ready to have the surgery, they said, I'm sorry, but we can't do the surgery. The cancer has spread outside your prostate. While I was waiting to get set up with radiation treatments, another 6 weeks, the cancer went into my bowel, my bladder. But anyway, bottom line is that I allowed the cancer to get in my brain like a cancer, eat at me and tell me that, look, man, you're gonna die anyway. Might as well have some fun doing it. You know, go get high. So I did. For 2 days. I wound up in the hospital. Stayed clean for 2.5 months. Another day, bang, back in the hospital. Cancer and methamphetamines and heroin does not mix well. So if anybody's thinking about it, don't do it. I wound up in the hospital. And I wanted to die again because I couldn't stop it. May 7th on my birthday, I turned 65 years old. I went into global detox that day, and I've been clean since.
All right.
I doubt seriously if there's many newcomers here, but the ones that are, let me tell you something. Never give up hope, because I'm 65 and I'm still trying. You know, you don't have to be 65 and have 120 days or 119 days, whatever it is. You know, you can end it right now. You know, get a higher power. I have a sponsor. I'm working my steps. Me and him, you know, we're trying to figure this out together, each other. So in the meantime, I'm working on my steps. All I can tell you is I'm in the Sober Living House. It's awesome. I cook for the guys on weekends. I go to my cancer treatment Monday through Friday, every day. When I did my first 5 treatments, I told the oncologist I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not doing it. It's going to make me sick too much, and I don't want to be sick. You know? And Friday, I finished my 33rd treatment. So I'm trusting in my higher power. I'm trusting in the program of Narcotics Anonymous. I'm loving the people from MFI. I do IOP and therapy through it. You guys are awesome. This is the first time I ever went to a MFI barbecue. Matter of fact, I ain't been to a barbecue since, I don't know, maybe I was 12. Something like that. But anyway, I don't know all of you, but it was really good being here with you. And I'm going to shut up and get out of here because I got to go up to Anaheim to the Harvest Festival.
All right.